Montana State Representative Zooey Zephyr. Montana is attempting to pass, I guess in the, whatever their house is, anti-trans legislation not too dissimilar from that we see around other Republican-controlled states. And they're literally not allowing Zooey Zephyr, the only trans lawmaker in the legislature, to speak about the bill because of comments that she's made about the legislation. They didn't appreciate it.
It's the free speech party, right?
And indeed.
Well, basically what she said was that if they passed this bill, they would, quote, have blood on their hands. Wow, that's really rude. Beyond the pale.
That's really rude.
You know, man, where's the decorum and manners? You know, you're being accused, you know, just let the Republicans accuse you of enabling criminal butchers in, trans healthcare, and don't say anything back in response. And that's free speech.
I mean, we've had everyone from the former Republican president, Donald Trump, to the former Republican leader of the resistance, Lynn Cheney, say that Democrats kill live babies. That they want to kill live babies.
And even in their response to Zephyr here, they cite out of nowhere the Nashville shooting, where they're essentially implying that trans people are dangerous to society, as opposed to, you know, the disproportionate number of white cis male shooters that have killed countless people in this country. But that's what they're implying. So which of these clips happens first here? So on Monday, there was a demonstration in the Montana House. I think 7 people were arrested by Montana police.
And so Zoe's holding the mic up to let the protesters be heard through the mic because she won't be called on herself. Spaceballs, goons.
I will also add that in that document, when they responded to her, they used the wrong pronouns.
That misgendered her on purpose.
Yeah.
Here is Representative Zephyr on CBS's John Dickerson's news show, I guess, or the CBS News, interviewed by John Dickerson. And this happened yesterday, Tuesday.
How does this get resolved, do you think? And how do you continue to represent your constituents and your community if you're not able to talk?
You know, I was elected by 11,000 Montanans to do this work, to show up every day. And my role is going to be to show up, to punch in on the bills that I think I have something important to say on, and be ready to speak. And it will be up for the speaker to call on me. Beyond that, I'll continue to do my work in committees, do the negotiating behind the scenes to make sure good policy gets passed for Montana. But my light's on, and I'm ready to speak on behalf of my constituents.
People have drawn comparisons, and I wonder if you see them as well with the similar demonstrations that took place in Tennessee, where 3 Democratic state lawmakers were targeted for protesting gun violence on the House floor. Same questions of decorum were brought up. 2 of them were expelled. Do you see connections, and have you had any communication with any of those lawmakers?
No doubt there are connections. And I think what we're seeing is that when marginalized communities who are impacted the most by legislation, rise up and speak to the harm, whether it's me on speaking on trans issues, whether it's young Black men rising up and speaking about gun violence, those folks in power, particularly on the far right, do not want to be held accountable for the real harm that these bills bring. And so, yeah, there's comparisons, and it's very concerning.
And I would also say it is the comparisons are also, I think, like you're just seeing increasingly. I mean, there's a comparison you can see with January 6th. There's a comparison you can see with Wisconsin and North Carolina legislators getting in. They get a Republican-controlled legislatures. They get a Democratic governor, and they rewrite the state's laws to disempower the governor. I mean, we're seeing increasingly anti-democratic authoritarian measures. I mean, I don't know how else you would explain. There is who they target and what what triggers their actions. But increasingly, and really the start of that too is also the sort of the extreme gerrymandering that we see. But these are all sort of like baby steps in a progression towards maintaining an authoritarian rule. I mean, this is what like you see in classical authoritarian governments, right? They're going to silence the opposition on these things. They're going to do it by expelling them or, making the party illegal. We saw that legislation raised, I think, in Florida. This is what's happening on a state level. And it is going in a specific direction, and there doesn't seem to be much mitigating it at all. There's certainly no movement to go in the opposite direction. There may be a hiccup here or there.
Arizona, at least, they expelled that election-denying lawmaker, a little bit of a taste of their own medicine. But it's like, it's asymmetrical warfare, as it always is with Republicans in the state level.
Totally.
I mean, and it goes to show how afraid they are, because it's a threat to them that Montana elected a trans representative and that she can speak eloquently on these issues and put in stark relief what their actual stakes of their policies are, and they just can't accept that and need her to apologize.
Yeah. And silence her.